Ladies and gentlemen, All Saints Catholic Church in Dallas, Texas welcomes you to All Saints Coffee Chats.
And we are live.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Glad you are joining us.
Thanks for joining us for our episode 26 of All Saints Coffee Chats.
Episode
26.
We've been
Wild
doing
and
this half a
crazy.
We've
year.
been doing this
26
for half a year.
weeks.
Oh my gosh.
That is fantastic.
Hi Jorge, hi Catherine, thanks for joining us. Glad you're both with us today, along with our other guests. If you're on here, we can't see that you're joining us, so drop us a line in the comment section and we would be happy to answer your questions. We are joined today by author Chris Parsons. Thanks, Chris, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, our pleasure, our pleasure. We're grateful that Chris has taken time out of his busy schedule to be with us. So myself, along with Andrew and Paul and Chris, we're excited for our great conversation today.
Yeah, absolutely. So Chris, like we said, is an author. He's also a parishioner here.
Yep.
I wrote the book A Little Spark, which we've got displayed there in the middle, and we'll dive into all the things about that. But of course, like always, we love starting with the question of who your favorite saint is and why.
Yeah, I have a number. You know, obviously St. Christopher.
Yes,
You know, was
absolutely.
very important,
Uh-huh.
and you know we had the St. Christopher medals in every vehicle. St. Francis,
Okay.
because I'm in the book. It's all about animals, so
Yeah.
I've always been. He's been top of the list. I've had obviously St. Anthony. Is
Yes.
a utility saint when you lose something, and
Absolutely.
everyone uses St. Anthony. So those are, and then coming from a fishing community, fishing background, Peter obviously is very important, and Andrew,
Yeah.
patron saints of fishermen. So,
Very good.
but St. Francis is probably, we have the statue in our backyard,
Uh-huh.
and so he's top of the list.
Absolutely. I had to laugh today on my way to work. There's a house right down the street that's got a St. Francis statue in the front. And there was a lady who was walking her dog, and the dog just took off running. Like she had dropped the leash or something. It went right to the St. Francis statue and just sat down.
Huh.
And I was
What?
like, he's still talking to animals
Wow.
today.
He's
Yeah,
still
I thought
doing
it
it.
was,
That's
I
crazy.
thought it was
It's
pretty
really
cool.
cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. How about you guys? Any new saints that are
What about you? Do you have one?
impacting life?
No, honestly, I've been still thinking a lot about John Paul II and Blessed Carlo Acutis, just talking with our youth about somebody who was their age and had already achieved that kind of holiness,
Right.
which is just awesome.
Yeah. I found Saint Martin de Porres, whose
Yes.
feast day was this past, well, I
Monday.
guess two or three
Tuesday.
days ago. And Saint Martin grew up in, I believe, Panama, if my memory serves me right. And at a very young age, I think his father had left them like right after his sister was born, and his mother, he had like an apprenticeship type thing at a barber, and it was very kind of bizarre, the mixture of things that were. So he learned how to cut hair, but then he also learned like medical practices at the same little place.
It's so funny.
It was
Yes,
like a-
yes.
I don't even remember exactly what they called it when I was like reading more about him, and I was like, that is really bizarre, but okay. But he learned all of this and just became really intrigued in the medical world. And then so a few years later ended up joining the lay, I guess you would kind of refer to it as like the lay apostolate of the Dominicans, because he really didn't feel like he was worthy of being a religious. And I think further along became really involved. But what I kind of was intrigued by St. Martin more than anything, he really just focused on where he was. And it really reminded me even more of the life of Teresa of Calcutta, very much so of like finding your Calcutta, and just that reminder of like just being present to where you are and helping those right in front of you. So I was really kind of inspired by St. Martin's life.
Yeah, so he was actually in Lima, Peru.
Peru. I knew it was a country that started with a P.
My kids and I were reading about him the other day, and it was so funny because the saint book that we have said he was a barber and healed people, and I was like,
That's impressive.
Like people like needed haircuts so bad. I was like,
Yeah.
what? But it ended up that he was like assigned to the infirmary as a lay apostolate brother, and was known for his ability to heal people's sicknesses.
Really?
So yeah, if barber school does not work out, become
Try being
a
a
doctor.
miraculous
Wow.
healer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Shoot.
Surgery on your hair or on your body. He could do both. He was good with the knife apparently. So yeah, always interesting the lives of the saints for sure. So the next question we always like to jump into, do you have a favorite scripture passage? I know this is another one that's probably, there's so many.
Yeah, well, the 23rd Psalm probably captures
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And I like that because when you read it, you almost feel like you're there. It has a vivid description, outdoors. There's a whole. It brings you into that, and then obviously the big one, the Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah.
With
The
Matthew,
Beatitudes, yeah.
which covers everything, and I know there's so many other, but the 23rd Psalm is near and dear.
Yeah. You guys?
I'll let you go first.
I don't know why, but it was something I talked about those first couple of weeks we were in quarantine, but that verse from Esther, when like she's just thrown into the situation and it's crazy and she's asking her uncle, like, why the heck am I the one doing this? He said, well, perhaps this is the time for which you were born.
Right.
And there's more, I guess I'm paraphrasing there, but like something being crazy, like what the heck am I doing here? It's like, well, maybe this is why you're here. And just thinking about that with lots of things going on in the world in my own life, I forget where in Esther it is, but it's in the book of Esther.
Yeah.
For you,
I mean,
Chelsea?
I think I always go back kind of one of the, I guess, many that are kind of staples in my life, if you will. John 10:10 of He came that we might have abundant life, and paraphrased, of course. But just that abundant life is promised to us. And, it's always one that I kind of cling to.
Yeah. The lesson with the 8th graders about love on Monday. And so I think I've really been stuck. Stuck is probably the wrong word. I think I've been in a headspace with that. And so what we did with them is we had them look at 1 John chapter 4. God is love, and we love because God loved us first. And then how that, then you look at John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he sent his son. And then we went into 1 Corinthians 13 and we broke down and anywhere the word love was, replace with God. So if I have the faith to move mountains but do not have God, I'm a resounding cymbal or a banging gong, so on and so on. God is love, God is patient. And then 1 Corinthians 13:8 has always been a passage that's been very important for me. I actually have it engraved into my wedding band. Love never fails. Love never ends. Is that very first part of that. And so when you put God's name in that as well, that
We're good. It's just me.
God never ends, or we're having some technical difficulties on our side, but yeah, when you put God never fails, God never ends. That no matter the hardships we're going through in the life currently, right? Whether it's pandemic worries or election concerns or whatever it might be, God does not fail. That we have that we can rely on and know that there's somebody greater behind all of these things that are going on in our lives. So, and failure's not an option. So,
That's good.
yeah. All right. Well, let's really jump into what people really want to know, Chris. Tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, maybe I'll go back a little bit, just give you a little context of where I come from, because the book is a reflection of where I've been on my journey. I grew up in a place called Flat Rock, Newfoundland. Little fishing community, beautiful. Most people have heard of Newfoundland, 9/11, all the planes. Fantastic place. Very much surrounded by storytellers and music. So I grew up, my father was a storyteller. So that was the Irish culture.
Yeah.
And as we grew, and Kathleen and I had a couple of kids. We read all the classics to them, with the kids. And then I started creating my own stories. and thrown them in the mix. This was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And they liked the stories. And the stories always had a lesson, a good Christian lesson. And that expanded to nieces and nephews, and it became, for me, it became a big thing. And they grew up, so my audience disappeared, but I kept working on these stories. And wherever I went, I always had my little notebook, and mostly for me.
Yeah.
And then about 8 years ago, I was on a plane because I used to fly a lot. And then this idea of Spark, the book, came into my head. And I remember I was on an airplane, and I said, I've got to capture this. And so for the next 2 years, every time I traveled, rather than doing my emails and my PowerPoints for the meeting I was planning to get to, I worked on my book.
Okay.
In my little seat.
Yeah.
And it took 2.5 years to get it to a point where there was a story. And I started testing it with people. That was in 2017. And I was at that point, this has always been something I wanted to do. And it was really my kids and my wife who said, you need to do this. Mm-hmm. I said, I don't know how to do this. I've never written a book. I've never printed a book. I have no idea how this works. And that was in 2017. And so we started. I built a really strong team. And we'll explain more what's in. There's music and editing and illustrations. And then last year, I produced a prototype of the book and shared it with a lot of different people, including kids here in the school. And on October 1st, we published the book. And so it's been, and last year I decided I couldn't, have two things.
Right.
Work and this.
Book. Yeah.
So I left, I worked in high tech and, lived everywhere. Moved here with AT&T, and then last year I decided that, this is what I wanted to focus on. Which was really interesting, explaining that to people.
Oh,
in
sure.
the business world, because they knew me as, a business development strategy guy.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you're leaving. Where are you going? Well, I'm focused on children's content. Now, on the other side, nieces and nephews, they've been always waiting for the next book. So
Right,
it's been
right.
25 years or whatever, and we're getting to the point. So that's the lead up
Yeah.
to that, and now, we're all into making it happen.
Yeah. Okay. So that gives us the inspiration behind it, and obviously the courage and faith to leave Fortune 500
Yeah.
company,
Yeah.
AT&T, huge,
Mhm.
and say, I'm going to go out on my own and finish this.
Yeah.
All right. So what's in there?
Well, it's interesting because in the book, there's a lesson in the book, and it's all the way through, about believing in yourself. And that's front and center, especially
Yeah.
for kids. All the other things, they need to believe in themselves in order to do acts of kind, anything.
Right.
And I'm an example of that. So in 2017, with the right people around me, I was encouraged to step out of my comfort zone and take this on. And I found that as I went on that journey, through luck, divine intervention, I met these great people who certainly knew how to publish a book or how to do social media, because I wasn't
Yeah.
innocent. That was the big social media, or design, or how do you lay out the book. And so as soon as I made that step, through God's grace, these people came along, and I was able to do something that was totally out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
There's music in the book. There's a full soundtrack, and it's embedded with QR codes and whatnot. I have, and I created the music, and with a fantastic music producer here in Dallas. I can't sing, and that's a given. Everyone, I haven't found, I'm 0 for like 2,000. I'm getting 1 positive on that front.
Yeah.
Even the dog, looks at me. I don't think so. and I don't really play an instrument, but it was through this process and surrounding yourself with the right people, and that's a really important lesson, is you can do anything. And success is how you feel about it.
Yeah.
And people say, well, what's success? Success, I get a note back from a kid, who tells me, I love the book and I love Ned New for, boom, success.
Yeah.
So it's really around believing in yourself, and it's not easy, but having parents and teachers, grandparents who instill that
Yeah.
You don't need to end up like Spark in the book who saves the world, but there's a lot we can do, and that's a major part of the lesson, one of the lessons in the book,
Yeah.
which happened to me in real life to get,
To get
on my
there.
journey to get the
Yeah.
book done.
Yeah, I think there's so many powerful things just in that I think you can look at the success that you had as a strategist and as a developer in a company where you knew you had to find the right kind of people to help you instill that strategy and develop those things. And then you have the vision and dream for the book, and you were able to take those same skills and say, I know that I need to build
Absolutely.
this team around me. I've got to do
That's it.
these things. And I mean, we've had this conversation even recently where we've talked about we have to make sure that whatever weakness I might have, one of them can cover
Absolutely.
as a strength.
Absolutely.
That's how we build a team that's going to be successful for youth and young adult and family ministry here at All Saints, is that we have that structure built to where if I'm going to fail somewhere, one of you is ready to pick
It's critical.
me up.
It's
Yeah,
critical. And
absolutely.
I think the key part of any journey, and again, it comes back to my world in business, and worked on a lot of different things. In order to get that team together, you have to make the destination awesome,
Yeah, absolutely.
and that is critical. And anything can be awesome.
Mhm.
Like this is our destination. I got there's probably 10 people courted what I'm doing here. But if you really want to get people committed and people excited, as a leader or as a group leader, you really, really want to make the destination awesome.
Yeah.
And it can be anything. People say, oh, well, it's got to be something, big. And no, it could be anything. It could be church related. It could be business related. It could be team related.
Mhm.
You don't have to win the game,
Yeah.
but make the game and getting ready for the game, that destination awesome. And that group of people then becomes something special.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. You can probably
No.
list
Yeah.
the 3 or 4 teams or groups that you belong to, that it was awesome. Everyone worked together. And then a dynamic may change, someone
Right.
new comes in and it all blows up.
Kind of messes everything. Yeah.
But it is a really important, part of
Absolutely.
being able to build those teams.
But I think it's so funny that we're talking about this, and you can look at in terms of successful companies like Walmart's and Apple and Disney and all those things, and then you keep going back and you're like, this is exactly what Jesus did.
Uh-huh.
Jesus recruited these 12 people that were like, you're my team. The kingdom of heaven is the destination.
Uh-huh.
Let's go. And they were like, okay, yeah, I'm on board. Let's do it.
And it's awesome.
And it's like, now Jesus didn't have any faults. There wasn't a place where he was going to fail.
Mhm.
But he chose 12 guys that did have faults. And it was, I know you're going to pick up where this person lets
Mhm.
me down. And yeah, I mean, that's the motto, right?
Yeah. And
we
scale.
get the team around us.
In Jesus' case, the scale. How do you get the message out?
Yes.
And
how do you
how
spread
do
it?
you amplify
Yep.
that message? And that's what these folks did.
Yeah. All right. So the book is very different than the typical children's book. I remember Father Alphonse called me. So he had this copy here, this early advanced copy. He's like, I got a children's book. I want you to talk to Chris at some point in time. Have your kids take a look at it. And he put it in my mailbox. And I went down there and I was like, this isn't a kid's book.
Mhm.
This is huge.
Mhm.
But then we got into it, and you and I talked a little bit
Yeah.
about this beforehand. It's not just a pick up and read Dr. Seuss kind of, you're going to get done in 5 minutes kind of book. And it's got some unique features. It's got lessons, it's got QR codes, it's got audio files that are in the background. Can you tell us a little bit about all that?
Yeah, and that's really difficult. Again, being new to publishing.
Yeah.
And how everything is, swim lanes. Picture book, 38
Yeah.
pages, mostly illustrated.
Yes.
Chapter book, little book, very, very little illustration. And what we created was sort of a combination. It's a fully illustrated chapter book
Yes.
that is targeted as a family read-along or read aloud. And because of the length, it's 160 pages, lots of illustrations. It's meant to, a family would engage over a period of time, in your case.
Right.
A week. They do 2 chapters together. It has, so that's sort of how it fits in, which caused me all kinds of grief. Because when you explain it, and as a result, I ended up not going with a publisher, or I created our own platform to do this. But also in the book, the combination of reading aloud and music is powerful, especially if the music relates to the story and is embedded in the story. If you listen to the lyrics in the songs, they really extend what you just read, and they're placed. So when you read the book, you come across a QR code, you scan the QR code, and a song plays, 1 minute version of the song. And kids love it. And they love when they're reading with the parents, oh, here comes a QR code, and they take the parent's phone, and then a song pops up with a different video for that, and then the story continues. And it's just like reading aloud. There's a lot of, research on development of how beneficial that is for parents who read aloud. The same research is available on music, and music developing, and children's brains, and when you put the two together, you really have an experience. So it's a book, but it's really meant to be an experience with the family. And we've had grandparents. It's been amazing. Grandparent, one guy, she's 6, and she's obsessed with this book. She lives in Austin, he lives, and every now and then he'll send me a text. And the last text he sent, she doesn't say goodbye anymore. She's replaced goodbye with "Be That Spark."
Oh, wow.
And I was thinking, this is fantastic.
That's adorable.
And then his daughter, who's in Austin, she calls him every night. She's driving me crazy. She's singing all these songs constantly.
That's hysterical.
What have you created? But it's really that combination of interactive, and it's embedded.
Yeah.
It's not
You're
like
like mission accomplished.
Yeah.
I have you singing my songs.
Exactly, and it's meant to be. The technology cannot overwhelm the story.
Right.
And there's a lot of those interactive books and all that stuff, and they use too much technology. The technology in this case is embedded to enhance the story.
Yeah.
It's really about the story, and then there's interactive things in the back. You can click a QR code and you come and you can speak to some of the characters. You can take a selfie with the characters. Have you
I
seen
saw that.
Yeah. So
that's really neat.
That's cute.
And it's just enough, and because you really want kids to spend time with their parents versus watching mindless videos on YouTube.
Right.
But you can't ignore the fact that they like technology, and so how do you come up with a balance? That's all about the story and the lesson, but entertaining the kids. And the music, they get up, they dance, they sing the songs, and then so that's the core of the book. And on the inside cover of the book, there's a URL, a web address, where you go in and you can download the full soundtrack. Because the book, there's 8 songs, with QR codes, but there's a full soundtrack, 12 songs, the full versions. And there's the audiobook, which we produced, which is another element of character development. So you can download that, all part of the book. It's a 2-hour audiobook. We had this incredible voice actor who worked with us. There's 20 different voices, and the music is embedded. But it also helps when the kid or parent, they hear Oliver the Owl. It just adds a whole new dimension on that character for the book. He's got a British accent. He's kind of arrogant. He's this man, and it really helps kids identify with the characters and the story, and it becomes a part of the experience. And so trying to put all that together is what we, and then try to explain it to people who see these swim lanes. Well, it's not a children's book. Well, it is.
It's not a children's book.
But I've got an 82-year-old who's the biggest fan of the book. He thinks it's great, and we have a 3-year-old who takes the book to bed with him. Who clearly can't understand the lessons, but loves the pictures.
The pictures.
And the music.
Yeah.
So it's this wonder, and that 3-year-old, when that 3-year-old is 7, that book will still be around.
Yep.
And that's part of what we do. We put a lot of time in making sure that, when you picked it up, this is not going to disappear.
No.
This is a solid,
I think
book.
So for my kids, and Father Alphonse saying you have your kids take a look at it, I think was such a great thing. So I brought it home and I set it on our coffee table, and I had forgotten about it. And then I went back a couple days later and it was gone. And I was like, oh no, I lost the book. Well, I didn't realize my 4 kids had been like cycling through the bedtime storybook process of like fighting over the book. And so when we knew you were coming on, I told them, I was like, I need you guys to be book review critics. Write this down, you know. And so my youngest, she's 4, she said, I like all the pictures. And so we'll read a page at a time or so, and she usually just goes back and is like, no, I just want to look at Spark and Rosie and what's going on. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then our 6-year-old, she was like, I think that it's funny. And I like this part and I like that part. And I got scared with this part. And I was like, okay, well, let's look at it. And we looked at it together. And she was like, but the good guy wins. You know, so that was for her. Now, my older 2, so my 8-year-old, and I'm going to read these to you.
Okay.
You haven't heard these.
Can we blip these out if we don't make them this live?
We cannot edit live Facebook.
I'll do this.
Okay.
Well, here we go.
A second delay.
Now my daughter colored hers a little bit. You probably can't see it that far away, but a little Spark book review. Dear Mr. Parsons, I'd give you a 5-star review on your book, A Little Spark, because I like/love the idea of combining Zuron and Toro
Yep.
To make Zoram, and so many other reasons. I loved the party at the end. She even drew the Welcome to Zoram. And then she said, P.S. Make a sequel. And my son, now my son is a critic.
Okay.
I'm just gonna give you the heads up.
Okay.
He's a critical thinker. He's very like direct with what he's gonna say about things. Dear Mr. Parsons, I read your book, A Little Spark, and I decided to write a review. So here it is. Your book was very good, and I love the plot and the story idea. I like the character Ned Noof because he's funny and so believing. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give your book a 9 because it was such a good story. I wish it had more action, but otherwise it was amazing. And I'll let you have those.
Oh, well, great.
But,
Thank you.
You know, I think you've created something that is so much more than just a book. You know, there's the family experience, like you talked about, that I think is so profound. I'm sure you guys remember sitting with your parents and having them read a book to you, right? You sit in their lap and different things like that. And I remember like so many great experiences as a kid where my mom and dad took time to do that with my sister and I. And this is that. But this is such a but it's more too. And then on top of that, you know, I love in the back. That's a pretty cool little graphic there. In the back of the book here, and I'm gonna take this one, and open this up. These little lesson cards I think might be my favorite thing, and I'll open that up there. I'm not sure which one we're on. This one. Yeah. You can see here, it's got little lessons. Don't judge too quickly. Everyone deserves a second chance. And you have those throughout the book. You know, you've got so many great Christian themes that are the undertone of everything that's going on from the very beginning to the very end.
So going back to the audience, the kind of, and I think we agree that people of all ages have been, what would you say, but probably like 5 or 6, they're really interested in engaging with the whole book and like the lesson. So Jorge would say probably 5 or 6, but even the younger ones can really be engaged with the music and the videos and the pictures, and then grow with it as they get older.
Yeah, I have found the book in all 4 kids' beds at different times.
That's awesome.
You know, so like I said, the 4-year-old, it's really the pictures. My son, he's more of a critical thinker of everything. So for him, it's the process of the entire thing and the story development of the entire thing. The
reading level is about 8 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at 8, and you know, 7, 8.
Yeah.
And we've had another example of a 9-year-old who could read the book, and they read the book in a guy called multi-generational family. It was the father and the mother and his grandmother. So they actually took the time and
Yeah.
they went through this Spark experience, and they thought it was wonderful. And the 9-year-old was reading, and then they talked about the lessons.
Yeah.
And then they picked their favorite song, and then the songs change every day. There's a new
Right.
favorite song, and so it really depends on what you put into it.
Yeah.
And you can certainly give it to an older kid and they can read it, but it's really when you sit down and you have an opportunity to spend that quality time and laugh, and there's joy, and there's some scary things in there. Of
Yeah.
course, you got to throw those
Yep.
in there, but then being able to sit down and discuss the lessons
Yeah.
about forgiveness. There's a big theme in this about forgiveness and second chances,
Yeah.
and there's some really good, interesting plot along that line, and that's really, really important. And you can create your own discussion around those lessons, and we provide some ideas in the book. Here's a question you would ask
Yeah.
your kid about a particular aspect of the lessons,
Yeah.
and we use that. Because one of the things we did was, in developing the book, we had the prototype, which was this book.
Okay.
So this was a year and a half ago. I thought it was the best cover ever. No. So it got turned down by kids. And he said, "Where's the dragon?"
Yeah,
So we
he's
went,
in the corner
from
there?
Yeah, went from.
Yeah.
But basically, I started just loading in the characters every time, new character. So there was some really good feedback, and this came in grade 1 class.
Yes.
When they read the book together, and Mrs. Ramirez is just phenomenal.
She's fantastic. Yes.
Providing the feedback, which then evolved, and the cover changed. How long the song should be in the book with the QR. I had 2 minutes, and that was a minute, and so all these things were feedback that came back, and from a wide range of people, and we ended up. I still have this. I still like the picture.
Yeah.
Whenever we adopted a new, we found a new dog, and so I felt like at the last minute I had to get Ellie the terrier.
Aw.
And so we'll have that forever with the animals and
Yeah.
everybody included.
But it's so neat to see where it came from to where it is now, and then with it now being released to the public audience, where it's gone,
Mm-hmm.
and the conversations that people are having. Thank you, Kathleen. Is that someone you know, Kathleen Parsons?
Yes, yes.
She answered the question. Somebody asked where to get the book. It's available on Amazon, and now there's an Amazon award on some of the covers I've seen now.
Yeah. No, again, as we go along, there's a few things. So it is available on Amazon. So we have a distributor. That's another thing. I have no idea.
Distribution of a book.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
really hard. And through luck and combination of people, I met this company in New Hampshire, and they do all the distribution. So the book is printed in Canada,
Okay.
shipped to New Hampshire, and then they have the relationship with Amazon. So the book is available everywhere across the globe. And I've had people, in Australia, people in Singapore order the book. So it is available on Amazon. And as soon as we came out the first week, we got to #1 new release in the category of children's music books,
Okay.
which is a really important. There's other
Yeah.
categories,
There's
but for me, that's
Amazon.
the most important, because
Right.
sometimes people forget about the music. It's
Yeah.
the dragon story, all the different categories. So, and it just so happened I was just checking it out. Oh, and then of course the banner goes #1. So we've had success. But
Yeah,
you've
that's
got to
great.
continue. It's endless. And then the other award was the Mom's Choice Award, which is a big thing you got to go through. So we submitted all the elements of the book, and they have a committee, and they go through, and so we were selected a gold medal recipient, sort of the seal of approval, the home
Right.
seal, that kind of thing, for parents and librarians about books and other things. So we received that,
That's fantastic.
which is the gold star. So
Yeah.
we've had, but it's constantly, marketing and
Yeah.
and getting the message out there, which doesn't end. And I appreciate this
Oh, hey,
opportunity.
we are glad.
Yeah, have book will travel.
Yeah. Well, and also, it's good for what you've been a parishioner here at All Saints for
6 years.
for 6 years, and I know that you and I worked together with a team of people on trying to figure out the survey and everything. It was going into all that, and you helped us strategize and develop some different things. So we were more than happy. You know, once Father said it, brought it up, you know, we've been trying to get together, and I love that we're able to get you. I know you're traveling all over the place, Dave Palmer and things like that. So
this is important. This is because there's been so much support.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about the journey and the people on the journey. This parish has been on the journey. I mentioned the school.
Yeah.
We did the pilot project, trying to create something that we could use in the classroom, which we're going to develop next year as a program.
Oh, that's great.
That was amazing.
Yes.
The song "Be My Friend," which is on the soundtrack, was recorded. It was very difficult because COVID. We're all getting ready to go into the studio, and then we had to use Zoom.
Sure.
And so and obviously Father Al, and so this is family.
Oh yeah.
And had a lot to do with the inspiration and where we are right now.
Well, we appreciate your shared success.
Yeah, good.
When Netflix calls and they want to make it a movie,
we'll use this as the set.
That's right. That's right. Come on up.
Now, do you have any dragons? Do you have any fire-breathing dragons?
We got a baby Yoda.
We got a baby Yoda.
We have random llamas. I'm sure I can find.
We've got a green screen.
Hey, we're in.
Yeah, we'll make it.
Yeah.
We've got all the things we can make it.
I have the dogs. I have because in the book I mentioned the animals. So we have a zoo at home, 3 cats, 3 dogs. They are characters. Yeah,
they're in the book.
They're in the book,
That's
but they're different
fantastic.
names. So Ned Noof is Bear, our Newfoundland dog, because I'm originally from Newfoundland. We have 2 Newfoundland dogs, and so the character, and they're not the same character.
Right.
You know, Ned Noof is not my dog, really. He's got a different personality, but we're able to include. You know those.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's all kinds of little things in here that people will never know that I added in there just for my own.
Yeah, but I think that's what also makes for such a great story is that it's personal. You know, there's so many personal things that can go into it that have such a greater impact.
Yeah, I'll give you one. Kathleen is on there. So
all right, Kathleen, if you're listening.
So she's not in the room, so I can tell the story. When we were recording, this incredible. I Googled it. I had the music, and I said, "How do I produce it?" I found this music studio here, Cake Mix, right in Davenport. Guy's brilliant. He did all the Dragon Ball Z. But he's got this audience around the world. Like if you think about Dragon Ball Z, the music was
everywhere.
The music was incredible. This is Bruce Faulkner. And I just ended up with him. So for a year and a half, we've worked on the soundtrack, where we'd produce it. I'd create it, he'd produce it, and we'd find these voices, which is really important. And there's a lot of great. And Bruce knows everyone. So we had this one song, "My Little One," which is a really, really important song. In the book, it's the mother crying as Spark goes on a journey, maybe never to be seen again. And so very lamenting, but it's generic enough that it would be any scene where a parent and the kid is moving to school, to the military, it's that kind of thing. So it was a really important part. And so we brought in 2 voices, 2 singers, and it wasn't what I had in my head. You know, I wanted this kind of sound, and Bruce was actually very frustrated with me. I said, "This is good, no, that's not it." And then, you know, what was in my head was my wife's voice. She's got this incredible, she's from Nova Scotia, she's got this Celtic, incredible voice that she never uses. She used to use, before we were married, she used to sing at all these weddings, and I always loved this voice, and this was the voice. So I came back from the studio and they said, "You've got to do this," you know, and within less than a second, it was no, no, you have to do it. I'll get the sheet music, because we had all the music's all produced, and we have the sheet music. And then 2 weeks later, she showed up. Never been in a studio with all the gear and all that, and she just nailed it.
Yeah.
And so I hear from people that, and I love that song. You know, who is that? I said, "Well, someone I know."
Someone I know.
So
a friend of a friend. Yeah.
So it's been a family, and obviously friends who've been involved in it.
That's
my daughter
fantastic.
Maggie, you know, helps. She does a lot of the social media because again, when we launched this, I think I had 6 friends on Facebook.
Doesn't help with publicizing.
I signed up in 2012
Yeah.
because I needed to understand what was going on. And so then I said, you got to have Facebook and we have Instagram. And it's all Be That Spark
Yeah.
on any website, which is great. And so then I have people. Now I'm trying to connect on Facebook, and I say, people, well, I sent you a friend request
Yeah.
7 years ago.
That's so
Well,
funny.
I'm back. I'm alive and well.
I mean, these guys are so good at it with social media. I have an Instagram account that I signed up for in like 2014. I have 2 posts,
Yep.
and one of them was like 2 months ago.
Yep.
So the other one
Trend.
sat there for 6 years.
Yeah, well.
Not a big Instagram social media, but yeah, I mean, I think there's no choice anymore.
No,
Like, if
well,
you're
yeah.
gonna get something out there, that's the way you got to do it.
Every 2 days we post on social media.
Yeah.
And it's a video because I recorded everything when we were making. I've got all the clips from the studio and all the illustrations, and so every 2 days we post on, and it's Be That Spark, which is another one of these interventions somehow as we were creating the marketing
Yeah.
and creating the platform. A whole idea, a little spark is named the book. Be That Spark is really what this is all about.
Yeah.
It's creating in kids the desire, the will to look for ways to be that spark, to do great things. So we had all that, and I said, well, we need to do the right branding. So we were able to get on social media, Be That Spark on Instagram, Be That Spark on Facebook, Be That Spark on Twitter, BeThatSpark.com, Be That Spark on YouTube.
Perfect. Wow.
Which is
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
Not
Right,
easy to
that
do.
you-
But
Yeah, yeah,
amazing.
such a consistent
Be That
thing,
Spark, you would
Yeah.
think it'd be long gone.
Right.
And
Seems
so
like the sort of
then,
thing, yeah.
obviously, we have to do trademark, there's a bunch of
Uh-huh.
legal stuff
Right.
then to
Yeah.
make sure that it's protected. But it's another one of those things that things coming together, people coming
Yeah,
together. and
absolutely.
with some luck, getting things like Be That Spark, which makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. So I think that would be, I think that's a good thing to look at. What does Be That Spark mean? What are we trying to do?
Well, it didn't start out that way.
Right.
So how it started was this flash I had on a plane. I was flying from Washington, D.C. to London. And I'm, because I'm always thinking about these stories, this thing
Yeah.
came in. And stories about, Spark, this lowly creature in a very hierarchical
Right.
structure. He's a streeter at the bottom who steps up, believes in himself, and saves the day so that the smallest of creatures can have such a big impact. So as I developed that, it led to we can all be like a little spark. We can all be that spark. And so that's really the movement, and the book is a starting point. But how do we, the goats, I talk about heifer and doing things with them. How do we instill in children and ourselves? Forget about all the stuff around us. I mean, it's hard for kids or hard for any of us to,
Right.
figure that out. But we all have this opportunity to be that spark. And in the book, Spark steps up and saves the day. Big deal.
Right.
But it could be a kid walking an elderly neighbor across the street. So
Right.
it's really around Be That Spark, look for opportunities. And as you and I talked before, you get more out of giving than, in many cases, the people who receive the gift.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really builds your relationship with Christ, actually.
Yes, absolutely.
Doing well and all these things. So that's what we're doing, and over the next few years, we're going to build on Be That Spark. There's a number of initiatives. I mentioned one, which came from here, is I now have 5 educators who have approached me, and they want to take that pilot program we did with All Saints and create a program for schools.
Yeah.
Character building,
Yeah.
which, there's a lot of programs out there, math
Sure.
and science and all that.
Mhm.
So basically, you'd be able to, as a teacher, go online, download the digital book, all the illustrations, produce the charts or posters. You have lesson plans for the 6 lessons in the book.
Right.
and then they can use that, and it's interactive, and because the kids had a ball in when they did it here, they
absolutely.
had the videos of laughing, and it's an opportunity to build upon that theme of be that spark, and we have other things that we're working through, but that it sort of led into that and ended up, as if it was a journey from an individual mouse to, hey, we can all be that mouse.
Yeah.
And that's front and center.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the idea. I think it's so great that it's an opportunity for every young person. I still remember the first time I ever watched the movie Back to the Future. Remember Back to the Future?
Yeah.
And Marty McFly's dad is talking about writing a book, and it's all these things. At the very end of the movie, cuts open the box, and there's his book, and he says to Marty, "Remember, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything." It's so much of this kind of reminded me of that. And I talked about this recently with, I don't even remember who I was talking to, but it's always been something that stands out, that if you put your mind to this thing, whatever it may be, whatever that dream is accomplishable. You just got to work towards it. You've got to work for it. Whether it starts as an idea on an airplane, or sitting around with your nieces and nephews and grandkids, or whatever it might be, go for it. Try. And I think that's such a beautiful thing to teach our young kids at such an early age. I know you piloted this with the first graders at the school, but I think it's something that also has an impact that they're now second graders, that when we talked about this book at the school, we're like, oh, I helped with that book.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, they take some ownership over it. They're like, well, I saw it before you did.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
That's so cute.
So it's like, all right, I got it. And they're like, I helped with what this character looked like or that character. And I'm like, that is so great.
That is fantastic.
I love it. Yeah.
And just for me, I like just to step back and let that happen.
Yeah.
Nicole, Ms. Ramirez sent me right in the middle of COVID, you have to see this. And she sent me an email, and a little girl in her class who was part of it had produced a video where she's singing one of the songs, A Little Spark, the song A Little Spark. So I got this email and said, wow.
Yeah.
It's her song.
That's it. That's it right there.
And that's the same way would be that if you can find a way to connect kids to something, give them ownership.
Yeah.
Kids, sometimes we don't understand their ability. We treat them as kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is good in many cases.
Yeah.
But really, it's amazing. I'm not an educator. I'm not a child psychologist. But through this journey, I've spent a lot of time with my target audience. It's amazing how they think.
We definitely undervalue their
Totally.
abilities and underestimate them.
Yeah, absolutely. And to believe in yourself, you have to let them. And they're going to succeed.
Yeah.
And they're going to fail. And we've spent a lot of time on success, not as much on resiliency. And that's part of the book as well, because it doesn't all, on the journey here.
It's not perfect the first time.
There's some massive failures
Yes.
along the way,
Yeah.
and miscommunications and all this. So it's really, that was one of the things, and they all want to be heard, especially now with all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's a really tough time.
Right.
They don't want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be part of the scene. And unfortunately, the scene now is so complicated that we need to find those spaces where we can engage, and that's part of what we're trying to do.
Yeah. We always talk to our kids, Edison didn't invent the light bulb on the first try. He failed over and over and over again, but that resiliency, that persistence,
Absolutely.
that gave us what we have now with the light bulb. And that's one of the things that I noticed when I was talking to my son about the story, is that spark doesn't succeed on the first try. It's a process, and you keep working towards that. And I love that you brought the prototype.
Yeah.
I love the prototype, and it worked perfectly. Nobody else liked the prototype. So we went this direction, and this direction ended up being, something that was beautiful and great.
And I can be a little defensive, apparently.
Of course.
Well,
that's okay.
This is your baby.
That's
Yeah.
your baby.
Kids,
That's
but-
lots of hard work.
Yeah, but I had to realize, actually, during this process, that I had to get this because I'm not the target audience.
Right.
And so when my family had provided the input, it took a while but they were right in most every case. But that's another part of what I've learned in all of this, the reviews. There's a lot of reviews.
Yeah.
And as with everything, there's going to be reviews that I look at, you just don't understand what you, but rather than do that, I look at it, I read it, and try to figure out what can I take from it.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you thought that, then I didn't position it correctly.
Right.
Because it was supposed to be this. And it's hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Turn the other cheek and
Yeah.
all the stuff that we've grown up with is really important
Yeah.
in what I went through, but it's also really important for children
Yes.
to understand that you got to deal with the good and the bad.
Well, you put yourself out there. You certainly took a risk. You took a leap of faith with a lot of things, but it seems to be that most people appreciate and love what you did and are now even taking it a step further that we talked about discipleship last week or 2 weeks ago, or evangelization, and that the idea was once you understand what the faith means, now you have to go out and share that.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like you know what that spark is, you're showing other people that spark, now they're responding as well. And they're going out and being like Spark to bring, they're not, right, you don't have to save the world, but if you do one little thing a day, right, like we've also talked about Therese and the idea of the little way. Doing little things, being
Absolutely.
a little spark every day. It's not called a little inferno.
No.
It's called a little spark, and start that way.
It's meant
So-
to be a platform.
Yeah.
Because, again, once you have the book and the music, it's then something that we can build on.
Yeah.
It took 2 years to build the platform. All these QR, all the technology,
yeah.
that's all invisible. The publishing and distribution, the editing and book design,
Right.
social media, that's now. And so as a platform, it allows us to create new content on it. It allows parents to take the content and create their own content. The lessons, they will have their own spin on
Yeah.
what those lessons are. So it's a tool that can be used, and that's really where we wanted to get to, and make it better, providing input, which is what I went through on the prototype phase.
You did a great job. It's
Well
a good
done.
it's a good
Well done.
launch pad for all of us parents and people who are looking for those lessons and I mean I still remember watching Saturday morning cartoons every morning and at the end of all of them they would always have that little 30-second like here's the lesson behind this. So whenever I read the children's books, I'm always kind of like, oh, here's the moral of the story. Here's the little lesson behind it. So seeing books that are doing that again is something that's great for me as a dad to be able to refer to, like, hey, you remember when Spark was going through this? Think about it. Oh, okay, Dad. Like, I get it now. So,
Well, that's good.
so thank you very much. So, I think it's time for lightning round.
Well, we have a few comments on Facebook.
I'm not getting them. Sorry. That's why.
Catherine, no, it's never too early for Christmas music, in my opinion. Never too early. Coffee of choice, always community coffee. Do you have a favorite coffee of choice, Chris?
As you can tell, Pike Place, Starbucks.
Okay.
Pike
Place.
Place,
That's a good
alright.
one.
Yeah, so I could probably get money from them for that product placement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starbucks? Yeah. Y'all don't happen to have the same socks on today, do y'all?
No,
Sock religious?
I just have
so
black
no.
socks on.
I got my Holy Spirit socks because I was counting on that to help lead the conversation. They
you
almost
go.
wore my JP2 socks, which would have been
Oh, yeah.
interesting knowing your history
JP2,
there.
Yeah, JP2
So.
is a big part. Yeah.
And then also, Melanie, I think I'm saying this correctly, is joining us from Nova Scotia. Do you know Melanie Lane?
Oh, yes, I do.
Melanie is joining us. Thanks for joining us from such a long way,
Wow.
Melanie.
Yep.
Her 6-year-old great niece loved the book. Her nanny read it with her. She was very interested in the character development. Her 5-year-old brother loved the book cover.
Wow, good.
Thanks for sharing that feedback, and
See,
thank you for
thank-
joining
She's
us.
a really
Picked the
close
right
friend.
cover.
She's a really
So
close
we are an
friend.
international Facebook show, you
Oh,
guys.
yeah. And my wife's from Nova Scotia, one of my wife's best friends. So
Okay.
thank you, Monty.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, good. All right. So go out and you can find, we put there in the links where you can find the book on Amazon. Go ahead and check those out. Be sure to leave your reviews for Chris and his team so that they can continue to create new and good content with the branding of Be the Spark. And hopefully you get an opportunity to read the book and can be that spark for people as well. You said the website was bethespark.com.
Bethatspark.com, and you can see all the reviews. You can see the videos of making the.
Yeah,
there's a whole-
Andrew and I looked at some of the backgrounds of
Yeah.
the voiceovers in the
Really
studio
nice.
and
Oh,
different
yeah.
pictures that you guys were doing. It looked like you guys had a lot of fun. I know we
Oh, yeah.
really had to. We've kind of been forced into learning a lot of that along the way with everything happening with the pandemic here, but. Yeah, it looks like you guys have a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, mostly.
A lot of work. A
Yeah.
lot of work
Well,
for
you know,
sure.
there's a
So-
lot of things you don't know, so you learn as you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, yes, you do. All right.
But I think it is that time now.
Did I miss any? I think that's everything. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have the promos.
Catherine, I like reading books on the Saints that are more heart heavy, but the quotes are a lot easier accessible. That's just me. So,
Great question.
all right. We ready? You gonna time it?
Sure. Yes.
All right.
All right, here we go. So we're gonna go Chris and then me,
Yep.
and
Okay.
then Andrew, and then Chelsea. All right. As
Here we go.
quickly as we can. This is our lightning round. Good luck, no pressure. You have to beat no time because they're all different.
Yeah.
Ready?
And go. Coffee or tea?
Coffee,
Coffee.
Coffee.
Coffee. Donuts or ice cream?
both.
Ice
We only made it to the second question.
Ice cream and donuts.
Yeah, donut flavored ice cream.
That was
Okay,
good.
there you go.
Take
Okay,
a donut,
sorry.
slice it in half, put a scoop of ice cream
Yeah,
in between,
yeah.
have a sandwich.
Ooh.
I'll take that, but I'll go with
Yeah.
ice cream.
Ice cream. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Ooh.
Scary movie or comedy?
Comedy.
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 Alright.
No knees or no elbows?
My knees are shot, so I had a knee replacement. So I think I'm good for a while on the knees, but I think I need my elbows.
Yeah, I'm gonna go no elbows this time.
Hands.
I'd change it up every time. I would just type like this. Yeah, it could work.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be able to lift my kids very much anymore.
It's
but-
true. Just kind of, yeah, I'll go no knees just because, there's a lot of things that involve the elbows.
I think I'm gonna go with no elbows because I think it would solve the nerve problems in my heart if I didn't have elbows. But anyway. Really tall or really short?
Really tall.
Really tall.
Really tall.
Really tall. I already know what it's like to be really short.
Been there.
Would you like to fly or read minds?
Read minds.
Read minds.
As long as I could turn it off, I would like to read minds. I don't want to always know what everyone's thinking.
I don't want to know what people are thinking. I want to
Flying.
fly. Fishing or hiking?
Fishing.
Oh, fishing.
I'm going to go hiking.
Fishing. Read a book or watch a movie?
I had to say
Read
that.
a
Of
little
course.
spark.
The
Yeah,
honors.
yeah,
Particular
yeah.
book.
Read
So, that was the perfect time to hold the book up. Read a book. Yeah. I'm gonna go movie.
Read a book.
Movie. Would you rather be a great cook or have a personal chef?
I sort of have a fantastic. I'm not a bad cook, but my wife is phenomenal, so I sort of have a personal chef.
You already got a good story.
Good answer, good answer.
Yeah. So it'll.
Will the personal chef clean up after themselves?
Isn't that
well,
good?
the rule in
That's
our
kind of
house growing up
kind of a
was,
game changer.
as a kid, if you cooked, you clean.
Okay, then
Yeah.
I'll take the personal chef.
Unless mom was cooking,
Yeah.
and
well,
then mom didn't clean up after
Right.
herself. Dad did.
Sandra, if you're watching, she still loves you.
I do, but that was just the deal. We helped Dad clean the kitchen if mom cooked.
That seems fair.
Yeah, personal chef.
Yeah, personal chef as well. In that case.
Growing up, I had a great personal chef, Mom. Thanks, Mom. She's a great cook and baker and everything in between. I'm very picky about my food now, and so I think I'd rather just be a great cook. Live in a treehouse or on a boat?
Treehouse.
Boat.
Say treehouse.
Boat. Go to the aquarium or the beach?
The aquarium.
Beach.
Beach.
Beach. Only be able to sing or only play an instrument?
I take either one. All of the above.
I'm gonna go
Instrument, I think.
sing this time. Yeah, I feel like I'm just picking the opposite of Chris every time.
I'm gonna go with singing as well. Use it for more, just anything. Yes.
I think I'm going to go with an instrument. Okay, last one.
But
Would
if
you
you
rather
could
go
sing,
back in
you
time
are
1 year
the
to talk to your past self or go into the future 1 year to talk to your future self?
Past self.
Future self.
I'm gonna go with future self.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with past self.
Yeah. I don't
Like,
think if I went to my past self, I could even make up the reality that we live in.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be the reality. It would be like
Think differently.
think differently
Yeah.
and like
Just be
as
ready.
bad as you might think
Yeah.
it may get at times, like you're going to be okay and you can do it.
Yeah.
Like you can get
Yeah,
through this.
yeah, like you're gonna make.
Like give yourself a pep talk before it actually happens.
I feel like if I talk to my future self, I'd be like, oh, okay, it's not going to be that bad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah.
So how do we
Okay,
do?
now I know you're
Love
saying
That's
yourself.
yourself.
4 minutes 41 seconds.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the time.
You
That's
win.
actually impressive.
Oh,
Under
wow.
5 minutes, we did it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the fastest time that the
All
four of us have
right.
done this.
We're gonna give Chris a prize. There's a book called A Little Spark. We'll get you a copy.
Oh,
You
thank
should go buy it.
It's big. Apparently, it's running off the shelves.
Yeah, flying
Get
off
out
the
there,
Amazon
get
shelves.
out there and get it. Yeah, before
You
it
should go to
flies.
Amazon. So Amazon's the best place to purchase.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's on every major, and it just A Little Spark, Chris Parsons,
Great.
and it's available.
So any place that you like to buy books, go check it out.
Yeah.
Christmas
Absolutely.
gift. Christmas.
Good Christmas gift.
Great
Absolutely.
Christmas
I got to keep reminding people because again, feedback from all these people. I bought
Yeah.
so many copies. We're giving them to parents with kids or grandparents with a kid that they want to
Yeah.
give it to. So that's part of what we're doing now, getting on all these lists, Christmas
Absolutely.
gift lists.
Absolutely. Great Christmas gift. I, as a parent, can't recommend this book enough. My kids, all of them, have absolutely loved it. It's a great read and such a powerful message. So again, Chris, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thank you all for joining us today. Lord God, we ask that you be with us. Help us to be the spark that inspires other people, and to be mindful of the impact that we can have, and the impact that being a reflection of Christ allows us the opportunity to reflect that love to everyone that we encounter. And so we ask that you help us to do that as we go forward. And we ask all of this in your name. Amen.
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 Bye, guys. Thanks for joining.
Bye, guys. See you next week.
Be that spark.
Be that spark. Yeah, put the hashtag back up there.
It's okay, I'll do it.